Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to be doing an Iron Warriors painting tutorial. Today we're going to be doing one of the Havoc models. I have one of 5 here and I have 2 completed so far. This is a little bit of an ongoing project I've had for my Chaos Space Marine Army. And it is a super easy tutorial that you could bang out in 1 to 2 hours, maybe even 3 if you give it a little extra love and get it on the tabletop before the next weekend. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. This is a all metallic build because we're going to do a lot of metallic work and just a little bit of basing. You know, the goal here is for speed and like a uniform look between all of your models. And in order to do that, we're going to apply these same steps to this model and all the other Havoc models or Legionaries. Are there any other Iron Warriors you want to go ahead and do? So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and load up a big old airbrush here, or I should say dry brush. And we're going to go ahead and just slather it all over the place. Don't be afraid of being a little bit dirty, being a little bit mean with it. Get it all into those cracks, crevices, all over the place. That's going to allow you to really get that, grimy metallic look into all the nooks and crannies of that model. If you have the paint kind of spotty or pitted, you might want to go ahead and smooth that out. But in all honesty, it kind of looks good. Sometimes that metallic iron, oxide rust look kind of looks cool in these models. So if it's a little grimy, a little gross, doesn't flow exactly well, that's not the end of the world. You can go ahead and just let it be and give the model a little character. These guys are chaos for for all we care. Going back over now, and we're going to be taking a small little brush and cleaning up all of the locations we missed while doing the big dry brush. So we want a clean coat on the gun, some of the big armor panels, not necessarily the trim pieces or any of the major details. There's like a loincloth there that's made out of chainmail. We want to make sure that's fully covered, but just go ahead and clean all that stuff up. Next, we're going to be going into Corvus Black. We're going to be beginning on the shoulder pads. Now, Corvus Black goes on the shoulder pad that has the Iron Warriors helm logo on it. We're going to do 2 or 3 good coats on that. Make sure it's super smooth, super, uniform. And that's going to be the base for our Balthasar Gold. We'll trim over it later. And but keep that Corvus Black on the wet palette. Don't discard of it, because while we're doing some steps, we're going to save some time and then revisit it, going into all the little joints and cracks and crevices within the model. So, like I said, just a nice even 2 to 3 coats over that shoulder pad there, any of the big tubes or any of those solid black areas of the model. Averland Sunset time. It's for those signature Iron Warriors shoulder pads. So now that we have a really cool, metallic base, we're going to hit it with like 2 to 3, maybe even 4 very thin coats of Averland Sunset. We want a really nice, even, color distribution here. Nothing too globby, but again, if it is kind of chaotic, it kind of, gives it that oxide underneath, paint chip type of aesthetic. But we're going to go ahead and just nail it with that Averland Sunset. That yellow is going to look hella bright right now, but we don't have to worry about that for too long. We're going to use a good shade to dull it back down to the correct hue we want it to all kind of match together with. And while that's drying, because in some cases you're going to do a watery type of a thin coat, we're going to go ahead and take that Corvus Black that I mentioned before and hit all those joints, the tubes, any of those little aspects of the model. You want to have more of a rubber black look, not necessarily like a jet black that Abaddon usually gives you. So go ahead and hit all those blacks and we'll move on to the next step. This is what we're looking like right now with our black and yellow completed. So for the famous old hazard stripes, you can go ahead and freehand those if you like, but I prefer to use the Tamiya 2mm tape. Reason why is because, well, my freehanding skills suck, and this makes it really, really easy. So before we prep the tape, we're going to go ahead and with that Fuegan Orange, shade there. We're going to glob it all over that shoulder pad. We're going to bring it down that hue to a nice little orange color. Make sure it kind of pulls in the recesses, because as it dries, it kind of like shrinks and makes a thin little orange line, gives it a little good bit of color definition. It looks awesome. So as that's globbed over, we're going to go ahead and prepare the tape and hit a small little aspect here or there that we could do in the meantime while that's drying up. like I said, we're gonna, hit everything we can while it's drying, and that's gonna be going on to the Khorne Red. Khorne Red we use for the eyes and any of the buttons, little like doodads that you find around the model itself. The power pack has some cool circles on it. The gun themselves have some circles on it. Most importantly, we want to dot those eyes before we get a wash on there. Just in case if we have some overspill, we can go ahead with a little bit of Iron Warriors and just clean that up before we hit it with our, our ultimate wash to really bring this model back down. So, now that we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and line that tape up in a diagonal, fashion, one at a time, next to each other. And we're going to pull off, all of them, with a break in between. So I'm going to have tape, no tape, tape, no tape. What that's going to do is going to give us the outline of our diagonal stripes there with a kind of like a rough, rigid line. But if you don't want that rigid line, don't worry. Just kind of push the bristles along the edge and you'll kind of create a jagged, kind of nasty, dark line when doing the hazard stripes. Might need a little poke and prod to make sure those tapes are on there pretty good. When you hit it with a brush, sometimes they might move and that kind of sucks. You'll have to restart. But, just do a couple of those stripes, a couple passes with the Corvus Black, and you'll be good to go. Create a nice black line that, fits the bill for a hazard stripe, but it also kind of has some jagged edges, makes it look a little bit more chaotic. What's nice about the tape is you can kind of form that in any direction you want. Given that this is a 5-man model unit, go ahead and kind of mix and match those hazard stripes. So you have some horizontal, some vertical, diagonal, even some arrows. I try to go, pretty uniform with it, but that's just me. I know a lot of people go crazy on the hazard stripes. I actually find that less hazard stripes kind of looks, a little bit more Iron Warriors to me. You have one that definitely means, that definitely shows, I should say, these guys are Iron Warriors. They got it, but don't go too crazy. Because they are just kind of fighting in the pits, in the siege force. These guys are not they're not moving, so they're gonna kind of be kind of grungy and nasty. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that tape off once everything's nice and dry, and it'll reveal those nice hazard stripes right there. As you can see, those stripes extend all the way up to the trim. But as any Chaos Space Marine player knows, that trim does not stay that color for too long, and there is a ton of it there. So we're gonna go ahead and prepare for the next trim session here. So just a quick little look around at this guy. We got our hazard stripes. They look pretty decent. We got the black on there. Looks pretty good. Our silver is totally silver right there. This guy just looks like a silver blob. But we're going to go ahead and prepare our trim. Balthasar Gold is one of my favorites. That brownish bronze gold really complements the silver well, especially once that wash gets on it. So we're going to go ahead and just pick up our brush there, just hit all the big spots, and then take our more fine brush and hit all the fine locations. Make sure to get the inside of those pauldrons, make sure to get the shoulder pads, the wrists, all the fun stuff, anywhere you'd like to see that trim shine. Nice little look around of our progress. We did our feet there. It's debating on doing the toes, but I figured, if I put this guy in the base and want to add more texture paint, you're not going to see it anyway. They're supposed to be kind of in the muck, so we're just going to let that ride, hit the legs. We're going to go move up and show a little example of painting the pauldron here. Like I said, that hazard stripe extends all the way over the trim, but it's not going to stay like that for too long. Alright, there's our Iron Warrior all trimmed up. Looking pretty good. Again, no wash on there yet, so he's looking quite bright. Pretty vibrant there, but I think it looks pretty awesome so far. Alrighty, continuing to our next step, Retributor Armor. The goldest gold of all golds. There's a few little charms and doodads on this guy. I want to, just add a little bit of extra flair, a little extra metallic, twang to, and that is going to be the unforeseen Chaos Star that's on the inside of his, groin there, the groin armor. Go ahead and hit that a couple times, and then there's a ejection port out of the side of the big gun there that I hit with gold as well, just so when you hit it with the wall, it kind of just gives a little bit of a different metallic hue, different twang, just looks a little bit different. Just kind of takes the eye away from the bronze, gold, silver. It's like, oh, there's something else here to look at. You never know. This gun could have been picked up by like a Black Legion guy or something. Who knows? You play the lore. Metallics can kind of go any way, so whatever one you choose makes sense here. Looking pretty good, looking pretty metallic, looking pretty bright. I mean, what else is an Iron Warrior, really? What's just nice about this is you could replicate this very quickly. Our next step is going to be continuing with the metallics, go figure. Brass Scorpion, we're going to do 3 coats, usually on all of these parts here. And these are all the shell casings found on this like auto cannon thing. It is a layer paint, so it's kind of light. It takes a little while, but be patient, take your time. Don't worry about being too neat, because once that wash falls into the recesses, it'll kind of take care of a lot of that nastiness. If you overspill a little bit here, a little bit there, but if you do, remember, just go back with a little Iron Warrior Silver and take care of that problem. But just keep on keeping on with all these shell casings. There's 2 on the rear backpack and 1 on the gun. Don't be afraid to get underneath that gun and make sure it goes all the way around. Just in the case that somebody picks up your model and starts looking at it from below. Want to be thorough. People might not see that detail, but it's there. You did it. Looking fresh, looking bright. Going to be moving on to our next step here. But once we got all those metallics done, let it sit for a little while. Make sure to clean that water out. We're going to be going into the star of the show, which is the Rattling Grime, which is a really nice contrast paint with a good black-brown hue that dries kind of like a soot. And I love it for all things metallic, including swords, shields, all the the whole 9 yards. But it over top Iron Warriors or any of these metallics I've shown you today really brings it down to a really grimy, nasty, sci-fi, grim, dark hue, and I absolutely love it. When you have a horde of these things coming at your opponent, you kind of feel like you do have an Iron Fortress there, and your opponent sees it, and it's like, damn, I can't tell who's who, but I know some of those guys in there hit harder than others. Got to make them guesstimate who is going to be the target of their choice. So we're just going to take our Beatus brush there, our good wash brush, and absolutely soak this guy from head to toe, covering every location with Rattling Grime. Don't be afraid to go a little heavy in some places, wipe up a little bit of the pooling, a little bit of the excess. If you want to have the highlights show, you could be a little bit more generous in some places and a little bit lighter in others. I choose to go even, pretty all around, including the yellow pauldron there. It brings that yellow down to a dark hue. Looks awesome. get into any of those tough to reach places, make sure to move to a smaller brush, grab a little dab, throw it on there, let it dry thoroughly before moving on to the next step. But as you can see, these little metallic pieces showing through the tubes there that connect to his power pack, the rubber has worn away through years and years and years of battle, so that metallic is shown, but that's not clean and shouldn't be clean either. So there you go. That's our metallic, fully washed Iron Warrior. You can really see how it brings it down. It does a phenomenal job of bringing down that metallic, but still kind of letting the sheen go through. The next two steps are more of like a little artistic rendition here. I like to take this purple contrast paint and throw it on the tip of my barrels as kind of like a heat warp or a heat, manipulation, whatever the word is there. You see it commonly on flamers, but we're going to be using that on the edge of the barrel because it looks pretty awesome. And given he's got a nice little blade on the front, we're going to be doing blood for the blood god because, why wouldn't there be blood for the blood god? It's a chaos guy. When this dries, it also dries a little brown too, so it kind of gives it a different kind of, stained metal look, and looks pretty awesome. And here is our finished result. Very easy, definitely a beginner level model there. The trim can be annoying, but once you get it done, it's a fresh model. And you just follow these steps, you could bang out a whole Legionary set in a day. If you really sit down within a weekend, you can bang out a serious amount of these Iron Warrior models. Please leave any questions and comments down below, and I will be sure to get to them. Thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate you taking the time to do so.